If you think about it, interviewing is a conversation between two people who are lying to each other, and there's data to back it up. Stick around and I'll tell you more. Hey everybody, it's Brian from Life After Layoff, and today I want to talk about lying in your interview. Now, you may have already seen my video on lying on your resume and how I feel about that, but now let's take a look at lying in the interview. But before we get into that, if you're interested in more content just like this directly from a corporate recruiter, maybe consider hitting that subscribe button and also hit that notification bell so you don't miss any future posts. Okay, let's face it, everybody lies to some degree or another when they're in a job interview. It's just human nature. And being realistic, if you don't lie to some degree, you're probably not going to end up with a job offer. So we have to play the game in order to get through the interview process and ultimately be the one that they select. Now, I'm not talking about blatantly lying in your interview and saying things that you've never actually accomplished, but there is a degree of lying from the job seeker's perspective when they're talking to a hiring manager. You're probably overinflating your interest in the role and how excited you are for the opportunity and what your career aspirations are and how interested you are in their products. Their services, and their corporate culture are not all that unique. You just need a job. And let's face it, if you were truly honest in answering the following questions like, tell me about yourself, why are you interested in working for this company, and what's your greatest weakness, you probably would end up in the no pile pretty quickly. But here's the interesting thing. It's not just the employee who is being dishonest in the interview process. That's right. Companies also lie in the interview as well. And listen, I know everybody believes me here, but there's actually some data to back this up. Because according to a survey done by ResumeBuilder, 4 in 10 hiring managers admit to lying to candidates in the hiring process too. So you're not alone. If you're lying to the employer, they're doing the same thing right back to you. So let's take a look at the data, learn exactly where they're lying to you so that maybe you can call them out on it if you find that they're being a little bit shady in the interview process. In August of 2023, they surveyed over 1,000 managers and business leaders who were involved with hiring in their company, and they found that 36% of managers lie to candidates about the company or the role during the hiring process. And I feel like this is a little bit concerning. This number is like a little higher than I thought. Now, I think every hiring manager probably talks up their role. Ask any hiring manager one unpleasant thing about their job, the company, even their department, or some of the things that they're truly struggling with, and you probably won't get a very honest answer, or you'll probably get a very sugar-coated answer at that. The fact that there's this many hiring managers admitting to lying to candidates is a little bit concerning, because now as the job seeker, we have to be even more diligent to try to suss out where the lies are and what the true corporate culture is, because you're making a decision that's either going to strengthen or weaken your resume. So we have to be very careful with how we assess these companies. And even more concerning is that a vast majority of these hiring managers, 80%, said that lying was very acceptable, or 14% saying somewhat acceptable at their company. And that seems to be indicative of a double standard culture, because if the candidate fabricates something or embellishes their resume, then it's considered a terminable offense that you're immediately rejected. But why is it okay for the employer to do the same thing? There is certainly a double standard there, and one that I cannot justify. But they also asked, what were some of the reasons why they were lying to candidates? So the first thing is to protect sensitive company information. Okay, I guess I can understand that. You don't want to give out trade secrets to an employee, especially if you're interviewing somebody from a competitor and you don't hire them. They go off to their old company or whatever, and they share that. So I can understand that one. But the next one is to cover up negative information about the company. Now, this is a red flag, because employers expect us to share negative information about ourselves. And in some cases, they'll ask questions that will paint you into a corner. But in some cases, companies are actively covering up the negative information that you might need to make a good decision yourself. They also say to attract job seekers with some benefits are exaggerated, which is just like, this is the bait and switch. This is really horrible. I'm reading this for the first time and I'm going, oh my gosh, this is really terrible. And what's so crazy about this is I've never worked in an organization where we did this kind of thing. And in fact, if anything, we undersold the benefits because we didn't want to overpromise something we couldn't deliver on. But we would try to be realistic about it. And of course, you want to package it so that it's a positive, even if it's maybe not the best. Like, you might present the medical insurance in a way that, kind of highlights more the positive and maybe doesn't talk so much about the negative. But it's not being hidden. It's not being exaggerated or anything like that. It's just, you're kind of like shining your flashlight at the good stuff. But if companies are hiding or exaggerating benefits and baiting and switching you, that's a huge red flag, and it's not a company that I would want to work for. The next thing they say is to deliberately say things that will please the candidate. I mean, I think that this one's probably fair game because the candidate is saying things to deliberately please the hiring manager. So I guess what's good for the goose is good for the gander. And to make the job sound better than it really is, let's face it, every single job that you'll interview for is made out to be like it's the most incredible opportunity full of amazing things that you'll accomplish and all kinds of great challenges. And the reality is the vast majority of these jobs are pretty boring, they're pretty mundane, and there's nothing really truly exciting about them. Just think about the job you most recently had. They probably pitched a bill of goods to you that it was some bigger job than it really was. And as you're leaving it, you're going, that job was not at all what they're pitching it to be. Then to attract more qualified candidates, I think they already kind of mentioned that, but essentially they are lying to people to try to attract more qualified candidates. So if you're a top candidate that's considering a company, make sure that you're fully vetting them out, do those reverse reference checks, go and check their Glassdoor, Team Blind, all of those tools that you can to really see what it is that they're offering and whether or not you're being undercomped to the market. So then we go down to how frequently do you lie? 6% say all the time. Literally everything that comes out of my mouth is a lie. And hey, at least they admit it. You know, that's like, you got to give them, or are they lying about that? But then most of the time, 24, I can't believe that people are actually saying most of the time I lie. This is so bad. And then some of the time, 45%. I mean, there's a huge percentage of people who are at least partially lying through most of the interview. So this is a real eye-opener for those of you who are actively interviewing for companies that might be a little bit shady. Just make sure that you're really double checking and doing your due diligence. And then what do you lie about most frequently? And the survey says 40% are lying about the role's responsibilities, so the scope of the role and what you'll actually be doing. There's deceit there. You'll probably be doing stuff that's more mundane, more busy work than they want you to believe, or they will give you more responsibilities than are on the job description so that they can underpay you and do all that kind of stuff. Then we've got growth opportunities at the company. This one is sinister because a lot of people are making career decisions. They're moving from one job to another because of career opportunities. And clearly 40% of employers lie about the true opportunities of growth there. I don't think I've ever met a hiring manager that would tell you, oh yeah, there's lots of opportunities here, and you'll have all kinds of the ability to move up in the career. You'll be able to move into a manager's role, no problem. How many managers will tell you that there's absolutely no growth here? Probably very, very few. So the moral of the story here is if you're leaving your current company and you're going to a new company because of growth opportunities, you better make sure that there's a firm commitment in place and it's not just some dangling carrot, because 40% of these employers are going to lie to you about it just to get you to sign the dotted line and get into the organization. And you could really weaken your resume if you're not careful. The next thing is this career development opportunities. 38%, they'll say that they'll develop you, they'll send you off to school, get some training, get some certain technologies or certain certifications, and then they end up lying about that. Then we've got corporate culture. I mean, tell me a single company that's going to say that their culture stinks. You have to look for the indicators, the red flags. I have lots of videos on how to look for those indicators, so I would encourage you to check out my other playlists. But company culture is going to be something that clearly these companies are not being honest about. Again, you'll never find a company that will admit that they have got a crappy culture. Benefits, again, that one's really that's disappointing because that's that's a bait and switch. That's lying about, that's a fundamental lie. And if they're lying about something that's fundamental, like think bonuses and things like that, that's going to be something that could be really catastrophic. And that's an indicator that they're not trustworthy. So, buyer beware there. Company commitment on social issues. I feel like a lot of the social issues that are happening, granted, some of them are pretty toxic, but you'll have companies that will commit to certain things just for the sake of showing face for it. That's another thing that they'll lie about. Financial health of the company is a 26%. That's a concerning one as well. You would be well served to do due diligence on any job offer that you accept, making sure that their financial forecasts look good. Go check out press releases, look at their income and earning statements if they're a publicly traded company. Do your due diligence as best you can here. Same thing goes with compensation. They lie about your compensation. They promise one thing and then they don't deliver it at the end. This is those lowball offers. Of course, I talk about how to negotiate these offers and how to deal with them in some of my training courses and some of my other videos. So I would encourage you to check that out as well. And then your turnover rate. Yeah, nobody's going to tell you their true turnover rate. 22% say that they lie about it. I mean, of course, it's a huge red flag. If everybody in the department before you get there is turning over, they're not going to indicate that that's the case. But you should be asking that question in your interviews: why is the job open? Because if it is a high turnover, and you may even want to do reverse reference checks, call the person who's in that role before you, and see what their opinion is on the employer, on the hiring manager. Take it with a little bit of a grain of salt, because they may have left because they were upset, but nonetheless, you should be checking doing reverse reference checks there, because they're certainly lying about why people are leaving their company. And then the job location, remote or hybrid, they lie about the remote. A lot of companies pitched it as remote, and then suddenly it shifted. I've talked about that in other videos as well. So these are a lot of the things that people are being lied to about in the interview process. And so when you're going through your interview process, keep an eye on these things and really try to assess them as carefully as you can. It's not to say that you should go in and think that every hiring manager is lying to you. Of course, the same hiring managers, 9 out of 10 of them, say that a candidate they lied to was eventually hired. And these managers who misled the candidate in the job offer said that 55% of them actually quit under the false pretenses. So good on the employee who were quick to exit those companies. And in some cases, it was within 1 week, 1 month, 3 months. Listen, if a company's going to lie to you about their benefits, about the rate of pay, about other fundamental things, they don't have a company culture, at least not one that you want to work in. So you should be cutting bait as quickly as you can within 1 week. As soon as you find out, really, there's no point in investing more time in a company that is dishonest and deceitful, because there's going to come a day where you're going to get a mysterious email inviting you to a meeting, and HR is going to be sitting there, and you're going to find out that you were terminated or laid off with little to no notice yourself. Companies lying or your boss lying is a sign of a lack of integrity, and you can't fix that. Then, of course, 1 in 10 deceitful hiring managers have ghosted a candidate after they were sent an offer letter. Now, we know that there are a lot of people dealing with ghosting, especially the worst ones are when you get an offer letter, you quit your job because you have an offer letter, and then they never call you back again. And then basically, you could be tendering resignation. You could find yourself in limbo. It's really shady, just the really shady stuff that some of these organizations do. And they're all indicators of a very low quality employer. Of course, we want to target high quality employers in our career, and that's what you should be focusing on. So as you can see, both parties are lying, and they're trying to figure out what the other person is lying about at the same time. So it's really kind of a funny game of chicken if you think about it, but it's just part of the game. You might as well get used to it unless you want to work for yourself. But if you're trying to be more authentic in your interviews and you need a little help, that's actually something that I specialize in. I've got a website called alifeafterlayoff.com. It's loaded with tips and tricks, all from an insider's perspective, and I share my deepest and most intimate knowledge in the form of some training courses. The first one is called Resume Rocketfuel, and no, I don't teach you how to lie on your resume in this course, but it's designed to teach you exactly how recruiters look at resumes and how you can write your own to give you the best chance at getting noticed to get into that first round interview. There is a science to this to maximize your chances, and I teach exactly how to do that in Resume Rocketfuel. But once you get that phone to ring, it's up to you to market yourself throughout the rest of the interview process, and that's exactly what I teach in the Ultimate Job Seeker Bootcamp. We take you through each round, give you tips, tricks, and insider knowledge on how to ace each round, ultimately to get to the job offer, and then teach you how to negotiate the best possible terms so you don't leave a dime on the table. But if you want to skip the recruiter and maybe 1 round of lying, that's where you want to check out Unlocking LinkedIn, which teaches you exactly how to approach targeted networking to your advantage so you can skip the recruiter altogether, move directly into the hiring process, and give yourself a massive advantage over the competition. If you don't know how to use LinkedIn, this is an essential course that everybody should master. If you need some more personalized help, I do offer some limited one-on-one coaching. You can reach me through my website for that. Anyway, hopefully there's not too much lying in your interview process. I appreciate you watching. We'll see you on the next one.